Good evening, geeks of the internet.
What is up, everybody?
Or good morning, or
good afternoon,
night,
good
or
day
whatever
to
time
you.
it is where you are at.
Yes. My name is Shauna, pronouns she, they.
My name is Joe, pronouns she, they.
And we are
Mythic Geekdom.
Yay! Thank you guys for joining us on this lovely Thursday afternoon. Evening. I can never tell when it's like 5 o'clock.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yes.
It is 5 o'clock here.
I'm just
your
trying to
time
figure out
wherever you are at.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out if it's afternoon or evening to us. Anyway, it's part of the day. What is time? It is irrelevant now. And it is not the boss of me. So there you are.
Boom.
Yes, we're gonna be talking about some awesome stuff today. Talking
like some
TTRPG.
of my most favorite topics when it comes to D&D.
Yes.
And I mean TTRPGs in general, but I'm most proficient in D&D, so
Sure.
be kind to me there.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about a few things, but first we gotta do some announcements.
It's always nice to do
It's always time to do announcements. Go.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen,
And otherwise.
yes, exactly, ladies, gentlemen, and all those in between or otherwise, we have a Redbubble shop. We sell cool stuff. We sell fun stuff with our logo on them, designed by the amazing Samantha S. Hines, one of our resident artists. We also sell some cute D&D themed merch. This is a gelatinous cute, super adorable. You can squish it. It will absorb you and your sad feelings when you're feeling sad, and it will just give you nothing but cuteness. And it's slightly goth and totally adorable and nerdy and geeky and everything that we love in the world. Designed by Shauna.
Thank you.
Lots of other cool stuff we have there.
Check it out. There's stickers and there's
Sweatshirts
water bottles and t-shirts and
tank tops,
pillows,
you name it.
whatever you need.
Yeah.
It's in our Redbubble shop, redbubble.com/people/mythicgeekdom.
And that link is also in our bio and in our in the description for this video. You can find it all in our link tree.
Perfect. We don't have
it with us right now.
See, you have to understand, it is very warm here.
Yes.
We are currently having thunderstorms. It is extremely warm here. And, you know, it's as I said, going on the evening. So it's not necessarily time for this, but you should still check out
Geek Grind Coffee.
Geek Grind Coffee. It's what I had this morning after having a 5
It was like
5
hour game last night.
Game session last night.
Yeah,
and
we had a lot of travel and a lot of RP for
and
like
when you
4
have
hours.
that when you have that long of a session, you know, the next day is a little hard. Geek Grind Coffee, they're gonna help you out. They have some awesome geeky themed coffees. You can check them out at Geek Grind Coffee. The link is in the description, and use the promo code
Stay Mythic.
all one word,
STAYMYTHIC. Did I spell it right?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Nice job.
I'm not good at spelling things out loud.
Verbally,
I have to like write it down or
Stay Mythic.
Stay Mythic.
Yeah, for a discount on some coffee. Do yourself a favor. Yeah, you know, the eldritch being of caffeine wishes you to do it.
They have a cold brew.
Make the pact.
It's amazing.
Cool. Some last announcements that we have. Joe.
Yes?
We've got a TikTok.
We do have a TikTok.
We have a TikTok.
And there's some
it's so much fun
tabletop content on there. Shauna has showed off her amazing remote DM setup. It looks so cool.
My side of the screen.
Yeah.
I will have to show you guys the other side of the screen sometime in the future.
It's so beautiful.
When I do some in-person gaming, and then I'll take a little bit of video of what my setup is like for that. We also have some fun songs, geeky songs that are sung by our resident bard over here. Go check out our TikTok and follow us over there.
Yeah.
Because it's a good time. And they're short little ditties to just like
enjoy your day.
Yeah.
Little geeky bardic inspiration for your life.
Oh, those two
D12.
a Mythic Geekdom. They got me.
Yeah, got you.
Cool. So let's talk today.
Let's talk today.
So today we're going to be talking about being a good team player when it comes to RP, when it comes to role play. Obviously, this is role play within tabletop role playing games. It's literally called a tabletop role play game, so there has to be at least some form of role play in there, right? But you want that to be the best it can be. Nobody likes a quote unquote bad team player when it comes to role play. Not a bad role player. Yeah. Understand, I'm not saying a bad role player.
You don't need to be the best actor. That's not the point.
You can still be a great player at the table.
Yes.
And be working on your skills at RP.
Caveat. As we mentioned before, yes, it's called a role-playing game, and so there will always be an element of role play, but for a lot of people who play role-playing games, roleplay is actually not the emphasis of their game. They prefer the exploration or the combat or the strategy or leveling up their character. Whatever your deal is for you, cool, that's awesome. But because our show here is called Roll+Play, we are about many things TTRPG, and this specific episode is about how to be a better team player with the role play aspect.
Cool. So we gotta talk first off, when you think of a good team player at the table dealing with role play, what comes to your mind? What type of person are you? What sort of attributes does this person have at the table?
Okay. Cooperation. Patience. Bold choices. A combination of knows when to interject, knows when to hold back.
I would also say fantastic listener, and like the person who's gonna a person who doesn't mind giving the center to somebody else, to just being the support. Sometimes you just need somebody to support. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Hi, Games for You on Twitch. So good to see
you.
You got our names absolutely right. No apologies needed. So happy to have you here.
Hey, Geek. I'm glad you're here. If you have any questions about tabletop role playing, put it in the chat.
Absolutely.
We will be answering your questions a little bit later. If something comes into your brain, it doesn't have to deal with today's topic. It could be about something else. We'll try and answer it for you.
We may get to it today. It may inspire a whole new episode that we will be doing in the future. So if we don't answer it today, we plan on answering it in the future.
So you were talking a lot about communication and patience. I think patience sounds like you would understand why, but could you like go into a little more detail about what specifically is that good team player being patient about?
Probably the better word to use is awareness, and
I think patience is a great word.
Yeah, but what I mean by patience is that you're aware of what everyone else is trying to do, you're aware of what you're trying to do, and you are aware to the best of your ability of how it could affect the story, affect the characters, and affect all of the players' enjoyment at the table. Now, no one's telepathic. You can't know all these things, but you're aware. You're trying to be aware of all of these things. I was going with it, and I forgot what I was saying.
You said you didn't want to necessarily use the word patience, but awareness.
Yeah. Awareness of awareness of all of these things, and the goal, making your goal not only I want to do this cool thing for my character, I want everyone to look at me and be like, wow, Joe did something super cool and super creative and clever. But knowing that the star of the show is the story. It's everyone's enjoyment at the table. Not making yourself the star, but knowing that everyone's the star, and when everyone has those cool moments, including you, then that's the goal. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So
wow.
I have a friend of a friend who quickly became a friend. We went to a con together.
So a friend.
A friend. Yeah.
Cool.
And she said the most amazing thing when we were getting ready to go to the con that day. She said, everyone gets to have a good time, and that includes me. Because so often you either have the mindset where it's like, I'm not being seen, I'm not getting what I want, so I need to barrel forward and push my way in so I do get what I want, so I do get the attention. Or you're so worried that you're going to be seen that way that you stay back and you never interject and you never get what you want. And everyone else is having a good time, but not you.
Right.
So everyone gets to have a good time. Everyone gets to be a star, including yourself.
The game master as well.
Yep.
As the forever DM, as the game master usually in a lot of my games, I want to point out that the whole like this is. Everybody gets to have a good time, including you. Including you can also mean the GM, who I think as the GM, you overlook yourself a lot. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And that's something that players
kind of where I was going with the
support.
With the support thing of just being like the focus, the star of the show is the story. It's not my story.
It's not your story as
individual.
DM.
Yeah,
it's not my story as player. It's not only this player's story. It's our story.
Right. And you have to work together to make the thing go.
Yeah.
I was thinking patience. When you said patience, the first thing that came to my mind with it is understanding when you get into a game at the beginning. I think you have a lot of expectations. You have a lot of expectations about what you would like your character to be like, your backstory, how you want the story to go, and whatnot. But also in a meta way, because that's dealing with the character, but as a player you have this like subconscious expectation of, I want a ton of combat in my game,
right? Or
I want a bunch of exploration in my game,
and I want shopping, or I want puzzles, or I don't want shopping,
right? And so you can have these expectations at the table, and since we're talking about role play, maybe you have an expectation at the table that you would like a lot of role play at the table.
Hi, oh look at me.
This one right here. And just having patience and understanding that even though you have leveled up
I'm ready for emotionally intense RP all the time. Not everyone is.
Yeah, and not only that, but maybe they are. Maybe they want that, but they're not at the level you're at.
One toe in the pool at a time, you know?
So having patience with your other players about what's going on and the expectations you have when it comes to roleplay, as if you have patience, that is gonna help out a lot. That is gonna be a great thing as a team player, to be patient and understanding for your other players.
Yeah.
Cool. Ah, cool. There's a lot of stuff happening in the chat. Hello, friends. Have we heard of the game Doki Doki Literature Club Plus?
No, I've not heard of that game.
I have not heard of this game.
Is it a video
Games for
game?
You on Twitch? Please let us know. Yes.
Yeah, let us know more about it.
We're talking tabletop RPGs. But
that's our Thursday segment. We're talking about
right.
the live action tabletop role playing.
When
game.
we do mean D&D, we do mean Dungeons and Dragons.
And we also mean it in a generic word to mean TTRPG, or tabletop role-playing game.
Yeah, there's a lot of offshoots.
Pathfinder and a variety of
Spelljammer
smaller
and all
style simple games. Exactly.
Cool.
It's a video game. It's a horror visual novel game. Oh, fun!
Neat. That sounds really cool.
That's sweet.
I do love like visual novels and like the choose your own adventure stuff.
Yeah,
it's
super
totally falls in line with tabletop role-playing games
Yeah,
because
it's very similar.
you're choosing your own adventure. You're choosing what is going to happen within the story.
But this is no multiple choice. It's literally whatever you want.
Yes, but it's still that, like, we're laying the track of the story,
right,
of the train as we go. Cool. Yeah. So let's get to another question.
All right.
So I know that a lot of people have been asking questions about role playing, and they're feeling kind of shy or beginner like. They consider themselves a beginner when it comes to role play. And one of the questions that I got was, how do I get better at thinking on my feet? How do I get better at just coming up with whatever my character is going to respond?
I have 2 thoughts for this, but do you have any thoughts that you want to put in first?
So something you should know. Both Joe and myself have been trained in improv.
Very helpful.
So very helpful. So we understand role playing and thinking on the top of our head.
It can be very intimidating.
It can. It totally can, and it can feel quite exhilarating and scary.
Yeah.
So not not an alone experience there. A lot of people feel this. There's a thing in improv that's called yes and. So whenever somebody is going through a scene and somebody comes at you and they say something, instead of having the first inclination to go back to grade school self at the recess block and go, nah, you didn't hit me with that spell because blah blah blah. That's like a no but. You're taking what they're trying to add to the story and you're negating
shutting it down.
That doesn't help the story at all. So
whenever someone throws something out there, you want to support it and add to it.
Right, which is a yes and. So even if they come at you and they hit you with a spell, it's much cooler on the playground. It's much cooler to have somebody react.
And come back
and be like, Ray of Frost, I see. Well, how do you like my fireball? That sounds so much fun, as opposed to, no, I don't think your thing worked. So consider taking what anybody else is saying and go with yes and. Some people literally will help themselves by saying, as soon as somebody says something, they go, yeah. And then they try to add to what was being said. But they say yeah first. They say yes, yeah. So that they're already putting themselves in that mindset. So that's what I think of when I think of thinking on your feet, is just reminding yourself to, yeah, and keep going. What would you say? Any other tips for thinking on your feet?
Two other things I can think of are, know who your character is. Know who you want your character to be. If you know your character's backstory, if you know their desires, their goals. The 5th edition of D&D has a really cool system where they give you flaws and ideals and bonds and all these things. And if you know these things, then you know what your character's passionate about, what your character's afraid of, what your character dislikes. And because of these things, it's easier for you to react in character when something happens. So that's one. Knowing your character helps you react in an authentic way that the character would.
Yeah.
And of course, in every good story, characters grow and change. And so if you're having a longer campaign that goes from like level 1 to level 20, then it's okay to let your character grow. It's okay for things that bugged your character in level 1 to 5. they're okay with and they accept by the time they get to level 12. You know, different things like that it's okay.
Yeah.
So one is knowing your character and reacting authentically as them. The second one that I would say to add to your yes and would be make bold choices. Thinking on your feet is this is a really scary thing. But it's easier almost when you're role-playing a character that's very different from you. It's a good place to start. So you can make a bold choice. Something that you may never do ever, but your character would do it. I'm gonna run in there and Leroy Jenkins and, you know, and you think things like that.
This is This seems like a trapped hallway. This hallway seems like it's got traps in it. Would my character think of that? Probably not. Do I know as a player that's probably a bad idea? Yeah.
Yep.
But
my character wouldn't really know,
or I could just be like,
I created
cool,
them.
I cast fly on myself. And I'm gonna fly through the thing. That's a bold choice.
You did something amazing. Maybe it's successful. Maybe it's unsuccessful.
If you're sitting there going, oh, I don't know. I don't know.
If I should do that, maybe the party will
do it anyway. If you're sitting there going, this sounds real dumb. This sounds real dumb. Try it.
Makes a great story.
Try it. Games for You on Twitch says, I don't think I could do roleplay games like D&D. I don't think I would know how to do it right.
That's something that so many people feel. I felt that for the longest time, and now I do it at least twice a week.
If you've come up with a story in your head, if you've played on the playground with your friends at recess, if you have watched like a Marvel film and then went, what if in your head you're already on the right track to playing a game like D&D because it's a lot about imagination.
Right now, because we are just weaning off of the pandemic, there a lot of D&D games used to be in person at the table only, and so you needed to know people in order to play a game. But recently there's been a lot of bars and clubs and coffee shops and geeky places, comic book stores that have signups. It's like, I'm looking for a game. Yeah. And then you can find people and go and play weekly. Also, there's a lot of online games now. People will play over Zoom and things of that nature. And Discord, Roll20, and all these things. So you can just look at online forums and 100%. Be like, is there an online game that I can join for beginners? Because even if you're like,
hey, I'm looking to be a player, I'm looking for players, I'm a beginner, maybe can I do a one-shot with y'all? A one-shot basically means you start the story and end the story in one night. That's it.
2 to 4 hours.
One shot.
As opposed to a campaign, which is a session between 2 and 4 hours usually,
and they
every
meet
week
every
other
so
week,
often
regularly, but then that can last for years as they go up in levels.
Think of a one shot as like a movie. It's a one-time watch, and then the campaign is more like a TV series where you have seasons. That sort of idea. Cool. So
more roleplay questions.
Yeah, another question that a lot of people are worried about is taking turns and when it is their turn. So how do you know when it's your turn to participate in the roleplay that is happening right then in that scene?
How long have you had the ball? I hate to use a sports reference, because I'm not a very sportsy person, and I know the stereotype is a lot of geeks necessarily aren't either, but that stereotype is changing. There are a lot of people that love all kinds of activities. And so if you think of something like basketball, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know the game that well, you're not supposed to travel with the ball. You're not supposed to run around and hold on to the ball.
Correct.
If you do that for too long, then you're a jerk. You're a bad team player. You can only hold it for like 3 steps, and then you have to throw it to someone else on the team.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing here.
You can take it down the court for a while,
but then let someone else have a star moment.
It's never fun to just watch one player on a team do the thing and the other players are like, yo, I'm over here, I'm open. And they're not passing, they're not acknowledging their other people. That's not fun. That's never fun. Sports or games or otherwise, it's not fun.
Take your turns.
Yes.
Be aware. That comes back to awareness of the story is the star, and everyone gets to have a good time, and that includes me. How long has it been since this person has said anything? They haven't really had a cool RP moment in like 45 minutes, and everyone else has. Your character can ask a direct question to that character. Hey, so do you like this kind of food? What kind of food did you eat growing up? You know, when they're sitting around at camp having dinner before watch or anything like that.
Yeah. Again, for me, it's not, I think a lot of people are like, wow, it's role play. So you have to have these big, long, epic scenes. You really don't. If you are adding to the story by connecting with another, having your character connect with another character, and or bonus, moving the plot ahead at the same time, that is 100% stay on it. Mm-hmm. As soon as you start talking circles, as soon as you start going, well, and you're saying the same thing over and over to this person,
done.
It's okay to just be like, and look to the GM and just be like, yep, that's a scene.
That's our scene.
That's it. If you are watching a scene happen, when is an okay time? When can that be your turn as well?
Okay, that's a really big question. This takes a lot of watching and listening and being aware. The more you understand storytelling, the more it helps. So that just comes to be aware whenever you're reading a book, reading a comic, watching a show. Yeah. Anything like that. Be aware of how many people are in this scene. What type of a scene is happening here? Would it feel really, really shitty if someone came and interrupted it right now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Everyone always has a clever thing they want to add. A stinger, a one-liner, or they want to make it about them. Oh, they're having a very special, intense moment. I want to be a part of the special, intense moment too. I'm gonna come in. Hey, are you okay? They're having a moment. Let them have their moment.
They're having a backstory thing of like, well, I'm opening up to you, said character, because we have a bond or whatever, or we've known each other for some time, and what just happened back there reminded me of a traumatic experience where my parents died. And this person is like, oh my gosh, and they're, consoling. If you're coming in being like, my parents died too.
Yeah, it totally happened in an alleyway and the Joker did it. Dance with the Devil in the Pale Moonlight. Ha 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 ha. Like, dude, I know that it's nice Batman reference. Thanks for ruining the mood of the scene.
Yeah. There is a time and a place for, that's called the stinger. There's a time and a place for stingers, and we're going to talk about those a little later in this.
Awesome and great. They can also they can ruin a scene.
So I would just say, when it comes to, is it my turn? Has somebody come to you to set up a scene? If there's another character asking your character something, guess what? You're probably in the scene.
Is there anything that you can add to this moment in the story
that is either plot related or connecting to the characters related, that follows the vibe of
the scene that's already established? Because if these two are maybe having a moment that's super intimate, whether it's romantic or not, this intimacy that it was hard for them to open up. If
there's vulnerability there.
Yeah, if a third person came in, they might go, oh, never mind. And then the scene's over. It killed the scene.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean, oh, well, that character doesn't want to open up to my character. No, it just means that your opportunity happens later.
Yeah.
This is that opportunity. Don't destroy it. Of course, there are some opportunities where, you know what? It would be beneficial if I jumped in here.
Right.
And it just takes trying, watching, being aware, trying things, and being aware of the reaction of everyone else, going, oh, that wasn't successful. Taking note, next time I'm going to try something different.
We're at kind of a halfway point of our thing. If you guys are having any more questions about tabletop role-playing games, TTRPGs, whatever you wish, please put them in the comments. We're going to be answering those in a little bit. Let's hydrate real quick here.
Hail hydration.
The Essentials Kit from Wizards of the Coast allows for a game that is only one player and the DM.
Oh, that's super fun.
Remy Xavier on Twitch says, yes. I've also know a few people. I know of a group that writes modules, which is basically, if you don't want to come up with the story, here's a little booklet to help you get through the steps of the story. It's called a module or an adventure. I know some people who write modules that are specifically just for the DM and a solo arc, but they're supposed to be for couples.
Oh, how fun!
Yeah, it's like it's like, oh man, I'm gonna get it wrong. It's like date duet or date DM.
We're gonna have to look it up.
I'll have to look it up, and I'll put it up on our socials.
Yeah.
While you're hanging and we're having some stuff, check out our socials.
Our socials, guys. They are all in the link tree, which is in the description of this video and in the bio for all of our other socials as well. We've got a Facebook, an Instagram, a Twitter, a Twitch, a YouTube, a TikTok, all kinds of good stuff.
All the good things.
Check it out. Linktree/mythicgeekdom, or any social media platform you can think of. Search for Mythic Geekdom. That'll be us.
That's probably.
Look for our happy little symbol. Look for the crown and glasses.
Get there. Cool. You want to get back into it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So we were just talking about trying to understand, how long a quote-unquote scene should go, and like feeling where that ends, where that stops.
Natural end.
Do you have any pointers for people who are trying to figure out when that moment is, so they're not going on and on and on? They're not, talking circles around themselves and saying the same thing 3 times over, but how do you recognize that natural endpoint?
Okay, I'm going to preface this by saying that I am neurodivergent, and I will talk and talk and talk and repeat myself 5 different times because it clicks something in my brain that makes me feel satisfied, and it makes me feel like I've made my point to the other people in the conversation.
Sure.
I've had a lot of friends who are very caring and understand my neurodivergence begin to tell me, you've said that, you don't need to say it again, because they're just going to start tuning out. And so as a neurodivergent person, there are things that I can do to help others in the conversation with me, and there are things that they can do in the conversation to not only understand and be more patient with me, but also cue me when it's like, we're good. We got it. And Shauna does it all the time. When we're sitting here chatting, she'll put a little hand on my knee to let me know, Joe, we can move on.
You've said what you've said.
She's done it like 3 times already today. So I understand that if you are a neurodivergent person, as I am, sometimes it can be difficult for us to read the scene, read the situation.
Yes, it's hard for a lot of people.
Say it again and again to feel satisfied. it helps to kind of take myself out. And so I'm functioning as both actor and as writer-director at the same time. And it takes a bit of practice because it's not super easy to do. But if you can think, my actor self is having this scene as a character with the other player character, and they're talking and they're having this intense conversation, this deep, intimate, vulnerable conversation. As a writer-director, I'm watching the whole time going, that makes a beautiful scene. That's a perfect final sentence. Awesome, good. Even if my character feels they would have more to say, even if me, the player, as a neurodivergent person, would feel more comfortable saying it 5 more times, we don't need to. The scene is good. The scene is done. You know?
Yeah, totally.
And it takes a lot of self-discipline and self-awareness to practice it. I keep messing up all the time.
Well, it's
but that's
not,
okay.
Yeah,
be gentle with yourself as you learn. Be gentle with each other as you learn.
It's not necessarily something that you achieve.
No.
It's
Everyone always
something
gets better
that you are exercising. Yeah. So it's not like, hey, I'm gonna learn how to do the thing and then I'll know how to do the thing and I will never mess it up ever again. That's not gonna happen, especially when it comes to this sort of thing, like role play. But it's more of an exercise. It's more of a, okay, I'm gonna loosen the muscles. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna see what's going on here. But I'm not trying to achieve something. I'm not trying to win something in this category. I would agree with you on that.
Do you have more to add?
Yeah, I think
the ball.
I think it's one of those things of, if you can tell that the person is done, if you can sit in a conversation with someone, not role playing, just sitting, chilling, hanging out, and talking to somebody, and you can feel where they've finished their thought.
They've made their point.
Ask yourself, okay, well, do I have anything to add? As a person, you're listening, and then you go, do I have anything to add on what they're saying? Yes, and what they're saying. Not, I haven't been listening to you this whole time, and I just want to talk about what I want to talk about. Hard. It's a similar vibe. It's a similar vibe with roleplay. You're just taking what they're saying, and if you can hear, that's the point. That's the point of the scene, right there. The point of the scene is to show these two characters are lonely.
Yeah.
And they don't really trust each other yet, but they're trying. Now don't force it.
Leave it alone.
Don't force it, leave it.
It's a campaign. It lasts for years. Let this be one step, because the next step can happen.
If that,
perhaps in combat, where that person is falling and that person has to go help them. Yeah. What a great opportunity.
And honestly, if that scene was the two of them sitting there, and it's like, I sit a little ways away from the other character, and I take part of the bread that I have, and I hand it to him, and I go, I know you don't trust me, but I hope that you could. And the person just takes the bread, doesn't say anything to him, but takes the bread. They're accepting it. If that's the end of the scene,
perfect.
Chef's kiss.
Why would you add anything to that? It's so...
Leave it.
Amazing.
And if that character's like, I'm not going to say anything to them. I don't trust them. I'm not going to say anything to them yet. Leave it alone. I think people worry about the silence. And there's another reason to be patient, is there might be silence there. Let there be silence. Get used to allowing people to think of what they want to say, and if they're done with that scene, they're done with that scene, and you can move on.
Silence isn't necessarily emptiness. Silence can be full.
Love it. Love it. Put that on a shirt.
Point of the scene.
Point of the scene.
Done.
I'm moving on. Bam. Yeah. So let's talk. We were talking earlier about stingers.
Ooh, girl.
So stingers. Stingers are, there's this beautiful, emotional, vulnerable scene happening on, and at the end of the scene,
it's had its moment.
It's had its moment. At the end of the scene, someone comes in and maybe diffuses the tension a little bit.
Making a silly joke, either in character or even a meta modern reference. But it's totally silly and it's totally different from the mood that the scene just had.
Yes.
That's great, because that scene had its full, complete ending.
So a stinger, a possible stinger, like the scene I was just speaking about, that person grabs the bread. If a third person came in, walked behind and went, "Oh, thanks," and took the bread from them and walked off, that's a stinger, because they're not doing anything to the scene. They're not adding to the scene. The scene happened, but there is a little bit of like tension release.
Yeah, now we're, because emotional scenes can be difficult.
Yeah.
And so we humans get to laugh. We get to laugh, okay? We should be able to laugh. We should be able to make meta jokes every now and again of modern references. Why not? We're not trying to create a movie that lasts for 4 hours every single week. I love what Brennan Lee Mulligan, amazing DM for Dimension 20 on Dropout, says. That's not sustainable. You just can't do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead and throw in your modern jokes and your meta references. Why not? Just make sure that you're not bulldozing over someone else's scene while you do. Wait till it's done and then add a stinger.
So let's talk. Let's talk stingers. Do you find them to be helpful or hindering? As in general?
Both. It depends on the timing. Absolutely. Depends on the timing.
I 100% agree.
I love them. I think they're hilarious and fun as long as they are appropriately timed. If you're doing it in the middle of my vulnerable scene, I want to murder you.
Yeah. Joe kind of loses a little.
Oh my God, I lose it.
Joe loses it a little. She won't, not
rage, barbarian, grrr.
Not in the scene. She won't lose it in the scene.
No.
But you...
Angry text thread.
Yeah, of just like... If her nostrils are going, you're in trouble. Yeah. I find most of the time, because people don't necessarily understand when is a good time, stingers, if that's all you're trying to do, that's a hindrance.
If you're making the stinger about you,
yep,
and I want everyone to know how clever I am, then you're a jerk. There are other ways to be noticed, okay?
You're trying to take the attention. I wouldn't say you're a jerk.
Yeah,
I would say you're not being a good team player.
You could learn how to be a better team player.
Agreed.
That's a jerk move. I wouldn't say you're a jerk.
There you go.
It's a jerk move. Thank you for correcting me there.
No problem.
Don't want to call anyone a jerk.
But at the same time, some people, I don't think they realize. I think they think, hey, I'm being funny.
And everyone wants something funny. Not always.
Not necessarily always. And it doesn't always have to come from you.
Mm-hmm.
So, as long as you start to understand, you understand and go, okay, this is the vibe that is going with the scene. And I mean, professionals have a problem with this.
Oh yeah. Professionals mess up all the time.
Yeah.
It's just a simple, I misread that, I'm sorry. And then you move on.
Yep. But I think where it's a helpful thing is obviously it's going to diffuse the tension if it's done right.
Of course.
And the reason, the way you know if it's done right is you watch how everyone reacts to it.
Yes, read the room.
As soon as you say that, so if I'm that third character that comes in, grabs the bread, and walks off, and I watch at the table those two people that were in that scene go, and their body language changes,
then you know that you done
then
stepped
it's like,
in it.
Okay, I don't have to do that anymore. I was making a bold choice.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for making a bold choice. That's awesome. And now
that's
be aware.
not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is if you continue to make that same misstep.
Yeah. So read them.
Yeah.
And if they're like,
if you're looking,
oh, good, perfect timing to put in a stinger to diffuse that tense scene.
And don't just watch those two people who were in the scene.
Watch everyone else.
Watch everybody at the table, including the GM.
Yeah.
If this is cool. If you are neurodivergent and have issues with,
write yourself a little note
with knowing if that was okay.
Sheet. Watch the reaction.
Talk to them afterwards. Mm-hmm. Talk to those people and be like, hey, at the end of that scene when I did this thing, when I took the bread from you, was that cool? Were we okay? I wanted to diffuse the tension a little bit, but I didn't want to take away from you. And if they were like, actually, it kind of threw me off. Now you know. Now you know, and now you don't have to make that misstep. You know what I mean? Not just for neurodivergent people,
anyone,
but really anyone. Talk to them if you can't tell by their body language or what happens afterwards. That's perfectly okay. Talk to the people at your table.
And all that comes back to practicing awareness, making bold choices, sure, but then practicing awareness of how everyone is reacting to what just happened, and making sure that the story is the star, and that everyone gets to have a good time, including myself.
Cool. One last thing before we answer any questions, if there are any questions today, if that are in the chat and not collected from before, is, so we're talking about pressure diffusers. Stingers are pressure diffusers. You want them in there because they make things light after an intense scene or a vulnerable scene or something like that. It switches the vibe. Yeah. For a second. It's kind of like taking a room that has stagnant air in it
and turning on the AC.
Putting on or just opening a window. Yeah. It's one of those things. Maybe the things in the room are perfectly fine with the air that was in there.
Hi, I like tense scenes. I'm perfectly happy with things staying tense.
But sometimes getting that like gust of wind to just kind of clear out, and it's kind of like wiping the board clean kind of deal. That's what pressure diffusers are for. Yes. Stingers are one of them. Can you think of any other pressure diffusers?
Oh my gosh.
That you would use in role-play?
Well, I don't know. Would you consider the like meta references or the modern references to be within the stinger category or something different?
No, I think it could be something different. It doesn't have to be a stinger at the end of a scene. Gotcha. Like I remember if you were making if you made as a GM, if you made a silly character, if you made a character Jack Montana that is basically Indiana Jones. Jack Montana, gunslinger. Comes in with his gun and his hat, and his hat fell. He has to go get his hat, and he's got his whip, and you're like, that's a diffuser. That's a diffuser from the GM. You know, going. We don't have to take everything seriously. Exactly. Not everything has to be serious. So, and then that's anachronistic is what you're talking anachronistic. About. Yeah. It doesn't fit the time period. We're taking things from obviously our time period and talking about them, pop culture references, things like that, and placing them within the story. Some people totally cool with it. Other people will be like, what's a phone? You know? Yeah, exactly. And it's clear that those people probably don't want a lot of anachronistic stuff in their game. So other pressure diffusers that aren't necessarily anachronistic?
I can't think of any.
Roleplay?
You've got thoughts?
Honestly, just having moments of absolute absurdity.
Oh, I love those.
Bold choices.
Heist.
Yep. Bold choices. If you're like, this sounds like a dumb idea.
If you could play the Benny Hill theme behind it,
yeah,
you're golden.
Doesn't have a lot of consequence to the problem here.
Right. Not necessarily plot related, but boy is it funny, and boy did these characters have a good time together.
So what Joanna is referencing to,
one of our games.
Within one of the games that we have, we had a scene, very tense scene, between two characters that literally became a standoff.
It was so good.
It was so good.
Yeah.
But it became a standoff of these characters didn't know each other very well yet. And it was like, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. You have a pistol. I don't know what that is. I don't like it. And they're like, you can find out what it is. And pulled it. And you're like,
don't kill each other.
Whoa.
No. It was so good.
The next scene was literally about 2 or 3 other characters deciding that they were gonna go up to a merchant in the square and steal jam. 'Cause why not?
And one of them thought the goal was to steal 1 jar of jam, and the other person mistakenly thought that the goal was to steal their entire
See how
stock.
much jam you can.
So they come back to the headquarters with like
12 jars of jam.
And it's like, what are we gonna do with all this jam? They're eating jam for days.
So there, there was that tense moment in the headquarters, and then, but we had this like absolutely ridiculous, silly jam heist is what we call it.
Absurd.
But it was perfect. It was a perfect pressure diffuser from what just happened. Noticing that this scene was super intense. The next scene probably shouldn't be so intense.
Right. A balance to everything, like let it ebb and flow. Let the moods change. If you've stayed on one mood for too long, maybe change it up a little bit. Switch it up. Yeah.
Cool. Yes, I absolutely love it. Do we have other questions in the chat that we haven't already answered? We answered a few at the top of this.
I'm not seeing any more questions just
No
yet.
worries. If you have more questions, friends, about tabletop RPGs, about our experience with it, perhaps you are interested in starting and just want to know more about what it's about or whatnot, write us in the chat right now. I'd love to answer anything that we can. And if we start seeing what kind of questions you have, then we can better form these segments to fit your needs. So yeah, feel free to drop something in. I will get a little bit more hydrated here because I've been talking a lot.
Are we wrapping up?
I think we might be.
I think we are. I think there's one more topic that we can discuss about being a good role player at the table, but
Sure.
I think it might be such a big topic that we want to have another session.
Can
that's
you
just
allude?
all that? Yeah. The player dissonance versus story dissonance. We touched on it a little bit last week.
did, yeah.
I think we could have an entire session on just that.
Yeah. What Joe is referring to is
There's my character wouldn't do that.
A lot of people, a lot of the tropes and stereotypes that you see from D&D players and the not good team players is someone going, well, my character wouldn't do that. Well,
And
my
so
character wouldn't go off on this thing with everybody
your character
else.
never does anything with the party. Why is your character a part of the party? Why did you create this character to be a part of this story?
Right. So it creates dissonance within the story, and it sometimes can create full-on dissonance at the table with players.
But
we don't want it to move and what people like to call bleed into
right.
player dissonance when it's either character dissonance or story dissonance.
But you also want to be able to be true to the character you're playing and not just say, well, I'll go along with it because the party's going along with it, if that's not what your character would do. So I think next week we can probably delve deep into how to kind of reconcile some of these meta tensions that could happen with this dissonance and how we can help resolve it.
I love
as
that
role
idea.
players.
That sounds like an awesome idea.
Until then, quick recap on what we discussed today on things that can make us better role players with others at the table. If I remember correctly, reviewing, know your character, know their traits and flaws and bonds, ideals, passions, so you know how to react in the moment in a way that's authentic to them. Make bold choices. Be aware, practice awareness of how everyone else is reacting at the table. Read the room. See if what you just did was accepted and appreciated, or if that caused some tension within the players. Yes, and add to accept what someone is putting into role play and add to it. Pay attention to when the scene has its natural ending, and don't add anything else if you don't need to add anything else. And
stingers and pressure diffusers, use appropriately.
Yes. Remember, you are not the star. You are one of the stars. Everyone is a star, but the biggest star is the story. And everyone gets to have fun, including the GM, including everyone else, including you.
Fantastically said. Nice job. Yay. Friends, we would love for you to come back next Thursday from 5 to 6-ish Pacific Standard Time for Roll Play. We will be talking character dissonance and story dissonance and what those things are and what they kind of look like and how to deal with them at your table next Thursday. But we are going to be playing some video games
on Sunday.
Coming on Sunday.
Yes. We're jumping back into our Let's Play of Suikoden 2. That is our regular Sunday game stream. Every third Sunday we play a different game, and that was last week. So this week we're jumping back into Suikoden 2.
Come join. We're having a good time. We're doing voice acting.
Yeah.
We keep it hype. We have a great thing. Grab
fun.
Something to drink. Have a good time.
Good time. And make sure you come back on Monday as well.
Wait.
Oh, what?
Sundays at
7. Sundays from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Geeky
right here, Mythic Geekdom, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube.
Perfect.
And make sure you're coming back as well on Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, Mythic Geekdom, Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube for Shauna's art stream.
Yay!
Where she does some art, and you can watch her, and you can have something to drink and have just a chill, relaxing
Lo-fi
time.
moments.
Oh yeah, there's lo-fi in there written by myself.
It's exactly correct. Come by. We want to hang with you.
Yeah.
It's a good hour of your Monday. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. Rejuvenating. I love it. It's like you're so good at this. You're so good at this. Nice job.
Thank you.
I
think you're good at this too.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you for picking up the slack where I lack.
No probs. No probs, Babs.
It's not my name, but I'll take it anyway.
Okay, no.
All pros, Joes.
All pros, Joes.
Hey.
Yeah, I love it.
No cons, Sean.
Hey. That was great.
That was weird.
Sure, we'll go with it. Yes. And until next time, stay mythic out there, geeks, and roll with advantage.